Hi, welcome back. I'm glad you guys could join me again. This will be our third and final book talk about YALSA's Excellence in Young Adult Nonfiction for 2020. And this time I'm not just talking about the finalists, I am talking about the winner. So, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Free Lunch by Rex Ogle. And I would like to first thank Rex Ogle. I found myself in a position where I was talking too much. My friends know that that is a problem I have. And they had run out of copies. And I was extremely, I was extremely sad because I wanted Rex's book because his acceptance speech at the reception in January at ALA spoke to me. I had heard of this book, but I was busy on the Morris Committee and didn't have time to be reading other things. And Rex very kindly sent me a copy, so I just want to thank him for that. Here we go, right here. Rex, shout out. When I write a book, you know, I'll send you like a dozen copies. I don't know when that's going to happen, but you got it. Okay. But I do want to speak to the fact that what I appreciate about what Rex has done is this is, I don't know if you would call it a memoir more than an autobiography, but he speaks about a portion of his life. So it's more of a memoir. And what he does is he talks about, and he takes a very unflinching look at something that is difficult and painful and traumatic. And as somebody who has experienced difficult, painful, and traumatic, I appreciate it because a lot of people that I love, a lot of the kids that I work with have experienced this as well. And it's something that is not talked enough about. So without further ado, I'm going to talk to you about what it is that Rex shares. And I know that every single page that he wrote in here was not easy because it's not even easy to talk about. And most of us avoid the topic. So here we go. Free lunch. Now, all of us are familiar, if you've ever been to school, with the free lunch program. And Rex is, at this point of his life, he's entering 6th grade. Middle school. I have asked, I've worked in all grade levels, but, I always ask my kids, especially when they're in high school, worst years of your life, and almost without fail, it's middle school. Middle school is one of the roughest transitions ever. And dang, if Rex doesn't have it really, really hard. Besides moving to middle school, he is struggling economically. His family is struggling economically. He discovers that, he already knows this. They don't live like other people. He doesn't have an actual bed. Making rent doesn't always happen. And being hungry is a normal state of mind. He has a little brother, and if there's not enough food, Rex is... I'd like to know Rex in junior high. Now, I know Rex is an adult, but I would love to know Rex in junior high. Maybe he would tell me as an adult, no, I wouldn't, but yes, I would. I would love to know you. He gives him his breakfast. And it makes me want to cry because my sister would do the same thing for me. He is a good big brother. He is such a good big brother. His clothes don't fit him right because they can't really afford. So, they go where they can to get things cheap as they can. But they're clean. Rex does his best to stay clean because he knows that it's obvious that they're poor. Now, the difficulty for Rex is he goes to a school where majority of the people are not poor. They're upper middle class to something else. So Rex sticks out. Now, remember, guys, come on, my kids, you can remember this. What is the last thing you want to do when you are in middle school? Stick out. You don't want to stick out. You want to blend in. You want to blend in. Now, here's the other problem Rex has. It's abusive in his home. If he's not being physically hit, it's verbal assaults constantly. Verbal assaults are one thing, but how do you hide the physical? You don't, not really. So, your life is built on constant state of lies. So you're pretty isolated. When you're poor, you can't do the things that everybody else is doing with seeming ease. Gonna go play football. He's in Texas. These guys are playing football. Sorry, Texas. I don't mean to stereotype you into playing football. But all these guys are playing football. Rex asks if he can. Money. Don't have it. Can't do it. All of the things everybody else gets to do, he can't. At times, we don't realize, I think, when we're kids, initially, like what it means, and then when it hits you, you're like, oh, I can't do that. But you don't want to say, I can't do that because I'm broke. Especially when you're in a place where not many people know what it means to be broke, because they can all do it. Rex is caught in a hard place. Now he's got one shining thing, his abuela. She tries to help. His mom's a proud person, doesn't want to accept it. I feel, upon reading the book, there's some jealousy. It's hard not to light up when somebody you love so much comes in. But she is a guiding star for Rex, and that helps. It really, really helps if you have that guiding star. But Rex is also Latino in a place, looks a little bit darker, feels like he stands out a little bit more. There's a lot of things going on in this book. A lot of things that I think in school sometimes teachers don't always see, or maybe as teachers we do see, and we have bias that maybe we're not aware of. And let's be honest, kids don't always want to call out the bias, because who's got the control? Pointing to myself because I'm a teacher too. It is a difficult thing to have all of this stuff heaped on you when you're a kid and to try to figure all of that out on your own. Because one thing is sure, even though he has his abuela, he does not want to burden her with the things that he has, because he knows there's only so much that she can do. Free lunch. It is an unflinching look at what it means to try to fit in a world that looks down on you for having less. Why does the world look down on you for having less? And why does the world seem to not want to acknowledge that this exists in our society? Rex makes some very candid comments about where he is at this age. And I think for those of us who work with young children, it's an important book to read. I think for those individuals, I think for everybody, this is a book to read. Just flat out putting it out there. Whether you work with kids or you don't, but especially if you work with kids. And I think for young people, I'm talking to you, I think this is an important book to read. Whether you have been where Rex is or you have not, it is important. And I'm going to tell you why, because I'm going to share something personal from my life. Now, I can tell you that in my life, if it wasn't for my grandpa, there were times where we would not have been able to eat. And I did not know this until I was grown. Why? Because families are built upon lots of layers of things. We don't like to reveal certain things. And Poverty is one of them. And you discover that in this book. We don't like to tell each other we got problems. But the other thing I want to say is that even when we've got problems, when we have problems, we still look for a way to try to come out on top of other people who have problems too. I don't know why that is. But I'm going to reveal something about myself that has always been, people who I'm close to know about this, but I feel it's important to share. I was in high school and there was a young man, I'm not going to reveal his name, and he always came usually in one or two outfits that he switched every day. But he was dirty, and I had known him since elementary school off and on. They moved a lot. Now, at the time, I didn't realize, I do now as a teacher, that heavy transient movements mean that maybe there's some issues going on financially. All I knew was that this individual and somebody else that I knew would always come over and try and talk with me and my friends. And my friends had also gone to school with him from elementary on. And we weren't rude, but we would very much be like, hey, and can you go away now, kind of thing. But, we weren't welcoming. But to ourselves, we'd be like, oh God, like, oh. We would just make little, like, oh, can't they get the hint? Like those kinds of comments. And I remember finding out, and I don't remember who, but I remember finding out from somebody later that the one guy who I saw wearing roughly the same two outfits was homeless. And he'd been homeless for a couple of years, him and his family, living in their car. And I felt horrendous, doesn't even begin to describe how I felt. Because I knew what it meant to not have enough. I wasn't able to buy my own pair of pants, like jeans, until I was in college, because I always wore my sister's hand-me-downs. And we weren't poor in the sense what Rex goes through. But I knew what it meant to not have much, and to know that I had contributed, albeit behind his back, to something negative, that I hadn't been kind, still bothers me. Because I think about how often we all do that every day to people who don't have much. It's an important thing to think about, where people are and where they come from and where they're going home to, if there is a home. Because kindness does matter. And how we treat people definitely does matter. I remember talking to my mother about this later. And I hadn't mentioned to her at the time, but I said, there's something about being in that group, like having that group herd mentality, where you feel like it's okay to discuss things in a different way. And I think one of the things that Rex's book really brings to light is the importance of finding not the herd mentality, but the right mentality. The right people who are going to surround you with positivity, who aren't going to look at other people and immediately say, oh, no, but instead are going to offer other viewpoints. Kindness can never be overrated. Rex, I want to thank you for writing this book, for reminding me of the good reasons for my being an educator, for my loving to work with children, and for what it meant to grow up in a home that was sometimes traumatic and very difficult, and why it is that every day when I see people, I greet them warmly, because you never know where they have come from or where they've been and where they're going. And for people who have not read this, I strongly recommend it, because we do not know the plight of some people and where they have been. And free lunch is a reminder of how difficult it is if you have children or if you are still currently struggling as a kid. That herd mentality of wanting to fit in and how hard it is. Remember, your story is valuable. Rex's story. Ah, you are valuable, Rex. And so are you. Shine, be safe, be healthy, know that you matter. I hope that you enjoyed listening to the 3-part, very long YALSA book talks on the Excellence in Young Adult Nonfiction books. They are all incredible. I have enjoyed all of them, and I thank the authors for their incredible contributions to young adult literature. So until then, keep reading, keep honing your own stories, and stay safe. Thanks.